All right, we're live. Oh, that was quick.
Yay!
Nice. The quality jump between Derek and John is gonna make me sick because Derek's like got this HD camera and John has what looks like he's recording from a Nokia circa 1999.
Very first video camera on a phone ever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like 160 by 80
Yeah.
resolution or something.
Yes.
I'm using like a spy watch, like a.
Nice.
Inspector Gadget.
So we're missing Chuck today. We're almost all back.
Almost. And then next week both Chuck and I are gonna be out because of JS Remote Conf.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And then in February, John and I are going to be out on Friday on the 10th or no, maybe John will be here because we have a conference in early February.
Right.
Yeah, so sometime in March we'll all be here.
Eventually.
I'm making Josh walk.
Yeah,
Totally.
It's only a 30-minute walk, so it's like.
hey, okay, I've been walking 2 to 3 hours a day on my treadmill every day, so this will be a vacation for me.
Exactly. That's what I told my wife. She was like, "You're gonna make him walk like half an hour?" I was like, "He's been walking 2 to 3 hours on a treadmill every day. I don't think he'll have a problem with walking half an hour."
No.
So, what's new, guys?
Not a whole lot. Just mostly trying to get back into the swing of actually being somebody that does work. It's not terribly easy. So yeah, Christmas vacation. I spent 2 weeks basically doing nothing. I had all these grand plans of I was going to read this book and I was going to work on my plan for the year and I was going to yada yada yada. I did nothing.
Yeah.
I did absolutely nothing except for crocheting random things for people. But it was fun because one of the things I did was BB-8 from Star Wars.
Oh, that's
Oh,
pretty
nice.
cool. You could totally sell
Hey,
those.
spoilers. I haven't
What?
yet.
BB-8 is in all of the frickin' ads, dude. Jeez.
Okay. All right.
So you haven't seen it yet?
No, I haven't. I haven't been to
man.
the movie theater in basically since our first child was born.
Yeah, I don't go to theaters anymore. I just don't like theaters. But I've seen it 3 times already.
Oh my goodness. Is it good?
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, of course it's Star Wars nostalgia, all that stuff, but it's actually a good movie this time, and unlike the first 6, which are terrible movies, especially 1, 2, and 3. But it's a really good movie. There's a lot of nostalgia, a lot of throwbacks to old things and parallels between some of the older movies, but
Cool.
it's really well done. The acting is good, the effects are great, the story overall is pretty entertaining. So go see it. It's fun.
I won't comment until Josh watches it.
Yeah, other than that, yeah, I did finally start reading a book. I lost audio again. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can hear you.
I can't hear you again. I hate this.
That's
Okay,
weird.
I'll be right back.
So you've already seen it too, John?
It was. I did it.
Sorry, you dropped out there. You got all choppy on me. I didn't hear any of that.
Yeah, I was.
Oh.
I totally lost audio.
No,
on
not you, John.
John. Okay. This is
It
so
was good.
terrible.
Yeah.
John's prison cell Wi-Fi is just not cutting it.
Yes.
So John, what were you saying? It was you saw it and it was what? Oh my gosh.
John is.
I wasn't the biggest fan of it.
All right. Well, apparently apparently Disney and LucasArts are censoring John's opinion of
Apparently.
Star Wars. Because every time he starts, it drops. All right.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of it.
okay.
Well,
All right.
you're allowed to be wrong, so that's okay. It's. So back to actual work. I started reading a book. Excuse started reading a book called The Automatic Customer. It was
Oh,
recommended to
okay.
me by a guy here in town, and I read through the first half pretty quickly. The first half is basically just talking about what subscription services are, kind of the history of them, and different subscription service models. And there's a lot of really good info in there, but it wasn't anything really new in the first half of the book or really terribly useful, other than the different types of subscriptions that you can do. But the second half of it is really focusing in on building your subscription service and what metrics you need to be measuring and looking at, and how you know if you're succeeding, and knowing when to really start pushing heavy on the marketing side to grow your user base versus needing to fix your levels of income versus amount that you're spending and all that kind of stuff. So I'm only a little ways into the second half of the book, but it's turning out to be pretty insightful already, just in the few chapters of the second half that I've read already, and it's highly recommended for what I have read already. There's some good metrics in the book that he talks about that I think are going to be important for me looking at my business as I'm growing Watch Me Code, and figuring out what money I can spend and what I really need to focus on to improve the business.
Sweet.
Yeah, so that's been good.
So was that what got you back on Baremetrics?
Yeah. Yeah, so I signed up for Baremetrics again because Baremetrics provides like 4 out of 5 of the numbers that I need for the metrics that this guy wants me to look at. The only thing that Baremetrics won't provide is the customer acquisition cost. And then I have to calculate how much I'm spending throughout the year on things like bandwidth and my drip subscription and all that. So I have to get my expenses calculated into this as well. But Baremetrics gives me the monthly recurring revenue, the lifetime value, the user churn percentage, the average revenue per user, all the information that I need to run the calculations that this guy wants, except for the customer acquisition cost and the expenses. But I can calculate those pretty easily.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't think I'm doing super great on his little metric, but I think I'm doing okay. I'm certainly profitable, that's for sure. But I think my customer acquisition cost is kind of an unknown right now. Mm-hmm. And then my lifetime value for a customer, I would like to increase that. The worst part, though, is my user churn. I'm sitting at 12.3% user churn, which is awful. The biggest cause of that.
Is that per month?
Yeah, that's what within the last month. But I looked at the average over the last year, 2 years. And other than the big initial jump and dip right when I launched the subscription service, it's been holding between 8% and 12% pretty regularly. It bumps up and down between 8 to 12% on a pretty regular basis.
Now, is that how much of that is John is just bopping in and out. So is this book, how much of this book is relevant to what you're doing versus like a SaaS app? Is it really more geared towards a SaaS app?
No, it's geared toward just about any business in any industry. He talks a lot about SaaS apps. He talks about what I'm doing, which he calls all-you-can-eat buffet style subscription. He talks about high-end exclusive subscriptions like golf clubs, or golfing resorts, or whatever.
Country clubs.
Yeah, country clubs.
Yeah.
That's the word I'm looking for. He talks about clubs where you have to be an investor with at least $10 million in assets invested in things. And he goes across a wide number of industries and a wide variety of subscription types. So it's not just SaaS apps, even though he does talk about SaaS apps in some places. So it's been really valuable for me to see examples from other industries and hear what he's talking about with other industries.
Yeah.
some of the big examples that he's talked a lot about are like the Amazon Subscribe and Save, where you can get deliveries of things on a regular basis. Or Walmart had this website set up. I don't know if it's still around, but Walmart had this website set up where you would get snacks delivered to you a couple of times a month, and you would go rate the snacks. And Walmart would use that to determine what snacks they should sell in their stores.
Oh, that's cool.
So there's a lot of different reasons for setting up subscription services and a lot of different options for how you run it and real benefits that you can get out of your subscription services. So he talks about all these different angles and how to make it work for you.
That's really cool. What kind of churn rate does he think is tolerable or desirable?
Well, he did say that it would vary widely from industry to industry. If you've got a very exclusive thing that costs a ton of money and has high entry requirements, you're probably not going to get a lot of churn out of that. If you've got a SaaS app that's for other businesses and becomes a critical part of their process, again, you're not going to have very high churn. Somebody like me, it's a luxury, it's a nice to have, it's a when I need it kind of thing. My churn rate's going to be higher. So I don't expect to get my churn rate down to 1%, but I would like to cut it in half. If I could, cut my churn rate in half, get it down to 5 or 6%, then at the end of 2016, with my current rate of growth, I'd be looking at basically a livable income with just Watch Me Code. I'd be at somewhere around $5,500 a month in recurring revenue.
Nice.
And that's without sales of bundles and everything. That would just be recurring revenue.
Well, I have a way that you could do that really easily. It's just just take out the cancel button.
and never respond to emails when people complain about it. And just let them complain to their bank and have their bank charge everything.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the QuickBooks model, right, John?
Yes.
I was muted. Yeah, exactly. That's the QuickBooks model. Those guys really suck.
Cool. Yeah. So, Derek, how many of those? So you mentioned you had like 40-some credit card expirations. Was that like? That's not per month, right? That's like overall.
In December, I lost 44 people.
Based on due to credit card?
Variety of reasons. Most of them were failed charges.
Huh.
Some of them, a dozen or 15, maybe 20 of them. Well, not 20, 15 of them probably were just flat cancellations.
Okay.
But the majority of them were from failed credit card charges.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot.
I wonder if like your older subscribers are the ones that are it's newer.
It's newer. It's across the board. It's some old subscribers, some new subscribers. Because I've got 300, 400 subscribers that are. Right. I've got 300 subscribers right now that are paying through Stripe, and credit cards. Who knows when the credit cards are going to be expiring? And I think the most common cause is credit card expirations or credit card fraud and cards getting shut down.
Yeah. So you should only be having like 33 people a month, even like if you divided up 40 or 400 by 12,
right?
Like 33. So, but then most people's credit cards are good for 3 years, right? Like when you're 2 or 3 years. So that's very strange.
But where are you in that 2 or 3 year time period? I've had credit cards. I've had all of my credit cards replaced in the last 6 months. And I'm certainly not an oddity in this. I haven't had credit card fraud. It's just my credit cards have been expiring, and they send me new ones.
But I guess what I'm saying is the odds of anyone's credit card expiring are probably like you probably should only be having like 10 to 15 people a month coming up for renewals on their credit cards.
for renewals. So there's probably other things going on. People may have been using temporary credit cards in order to reduce the costs. People have probably experienced a lot of fraud in the month of December and have been canceling credit cards. Credit card
True.
companies
Yeah.
might just be denying it because they hit their credit limits over Christmas. I mean,
Mm.
there's a lot of different reasons that the card payment could fail. But one thing I've done already to try and cut down on this is put together a really quick, I guess it's called a dunning email, named after some person that thought of this idea, I guess. But the gist of it is you send somebody an email when their payment fails, and you say, "Hey, your payment failed, and here's what you can do to go fix it." So I've got that put together. Barometrics actually has that feature put in place through their service, so I could just do it through the Barometrics website, and they've got a nice little campaign set up and everything. But I can get that event inside of Drip as well. With the Stripe integration that Drip has, you can set up some automation rules for when a charge fails, do whatever the crap you want.
Yeah.
So right now, I've got Drip set up to send a one-off email that says, "Oh no, your WatchMeCode subscription payment failed," and I don't know what the reason is, but this is the most common cause, and here's what you need to do to go fix it. And so I've seen a half a dozen of those emails go out in the last week. So certainly people are getting those emails now, and I'm hoping that over time it will have a positive effect on the user churn to drop that user churn.
Mm-hmm.
What is the monthly churn rate on that? I missed
About 12% right now, a little over.
But how many how many people?
45 people
per month that are having the failed credit card charge?
Well, churn.
Yeah, I mean,
some of it's failed credit card. Actually, I'm looking at the failed charges right now, and last month, in the last 30 days, I've had 46 people have a failed charge.
Wow.
Okay, so I mean, you could certainly cut that in half.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that cancel their account?
Not immediately. I've got Stripe set up so that it will. I think it tries twice before it cancels the account.
Okay.
I can check that in my Stripe settings real quick. It was set up so that it would check 3 times, and I reduced that recently.
How many people are fixing it right now?
A fair number.
Oh, okay.
I'm going in and I'm looking at the Stripe report. Actually, I'm not sure. It doesn't give me the exact numbers. That'd be nice to have. But I can see in the failed charges which ones are resolved and which ones are unresolved. And there's a fair number of them just in this list. Looks like close to half of them have been resolved.
Okay, so if you could get half of the half, then that would be at least probably maybe 5 to 10 subscribers per month that you could save.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got Stripe set up to retry 3 times. It retries 1 day later, 3 days later, and then 3 days later again.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, to me it seems like more is better than on that, because once you cut the cord, it's going to be that much harder to get them back, I think.
Yeah. So there's the Stripe cancellation, and then there's the Restrict Content Pro cancellation. So you'll have every account has an expiration date that gets reset automatically every time their Stripe payment succeeds. And once you hit that expiration date, your account goes into expired mode, and then you go into canceled mode if Stripe cancels you or if you go in and cancel it. There's probably a way for me to set up some additional emails, because I'm looking at this Barometrics report right now for failed charges, and it shows me that I have at risk $285 in revenue. It looks like for cards that are expiring soon.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So I should be able to set up an email either in Drip or in Barometrics to send out emails to people. Hey, your credit card's expiring soon. That would probably help avoid a lot of the failed charges. I think that's probably part of the dunning setup that Barometrics has. I'll have to look into it more.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that'll be nice. I think that work will be pretty easy work to do to help reduce the amount of churn. And if I can cut that churn in half at the rate that I'm currently growing, I'll be doing really well by the end of the year.
That's awesome.
Because I had 44 new subscribers in the month of December, but then I lost 46 people, or 42, 44, whatever it was. I lost 2 people more than I gained, but the rate of growth was a huge improvement over what I've had in the past, because prior to all of these drip sequences and everything that I have set up now, I was only gaining 10 to 15 users a month. So gaining 44 in the month of December is a huge improvement.
Yeah, especially given that it's, potentially people are more distracted and maybe less likely to spend money on something like that.
Yeah.
Subscription.
And I've had a fair number of new subscribers in January as well. I do expect January to be a bit lower. I think people are going to be shocked and reeling from their credit card statement. So I do expect January to be a bit lower. But today is January 8th, and I've had 7 signups so far. So not great, but not horrible either. It's almost 1 a day so far.
Is connection better?
Well, we'll see. It seems
actually, that cleared up a lot right there.
I'm on my iPhone now, so.
Nice.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that seems a lot better.
So yeah, that's about it for me. I just recorded 2 more Watch Me Code episodes this morning, which are using Git to deploy your Node application to an Ubuntu box on DigitalOcean. It's a 2-part video. So it's part 1 is configuring the server with all the basic stuff, and then part 2 is configuring the actual app deployment and getting it deployed. So I think it turned out pretty well. It's a good couple of episodes, and it's a couple of episodes that a lot of people have been wanting as well. So hopefully it'll be popular and help drive up some sales. And then after this, I'm going to move into some additional code. I've been doing a lot of configuration and deployment stuff for the last few episodes. So I'm going to move back to doing some code, and I'm going to get tracking put in place for episode downloads and who's watching what, and I'm going to use RabbitMQ and Keen.io and a bunch of other things to configure all of the tracking stuff that I'm doing. So it'll be another series of really good episodes that I think are gonna be pretty popular again.
Sweet. I love how you're like building Watch Me Code.
Yeah, it's great. Watch me code.
Yeah. It's like the mirror when you hold the mirror up to the mirror and you just get this infinite series of reflections.
Great. That's pretty awesome.
And this is the one layer above that meta now, so it's not like listen to me, watch.
Yeah,
code, watch
that's right.
Listen
to me talk about watching me code, watch me code.
Yeah. I think Listen to Me Code has some potential there.
Well, I keep getting people telling me that I need to do watch me crochet. So that's my next career path as soon as I'm done with code.
Nice.
I visited Alcatraz prison.
Yep.
And when we were taking the tour, they were like showing us what some of the prison cells looked like in that era. And there was this one, like they have this audio tour, right, that you're listening to the thing, and they're talking about, look in this prison cell, see all those crocheted things. A lot of the inmates learned to crochet. I was like, what?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
That's what they did a lot.
Yeah. I did like 2 weeks straight of crocheting. I made my mom a snowman. I made my grandma a snowman. I made myself and my wife a hat. I made my kids a couple of little toys. I did BB-8s. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I think if you learn to crochet in Alcatraz, like you're basically raising your hand and saying, "Please kill me." Like, I mean, I imagine those guys are the ones that ended up shanked in the bathroom, you know?
I don't know.
Those are probably the guys that ended up killing other people because they have these nice sharpened crochet hooks carrying around all the time.
It's interesting too. I also get the impression that it wasn't that difficult then, right? Like the prisoners there at that time, although like we look at them historically and we're like, oh, you know, Al Capone and all these really bad prisoners, they were actually probably mild compared to a medium security prison today. Just like from hearing the stories, I'm like, why would this guy even put in this? Like, times have changed quite a bit. Like what we consider to be like a criminally insane has a much higher bar now, I think. So.
Yeah, very much so, especially with medications and everything now. And you get a lot more people getting off on technicalities because they have, you know, whatever mental problems, mental disorders. So.
Or they're too affluent.
Yeah, exactly. The affluenza asshole in Dallas. Drives me nuts. So to round off me talking forever, so my final income, I told you guys on the mailing list, but for anybody listening, my final income for 2015 was $160,000, which is pretty dang amazing. 70,000 of which came from my entrepreneurial efforts, including mostly Watch Me Code, but also my Lean Pub sales and all those other miscellaneous things that I did in 2015 as an entrepreneur. So that's pretty dang amazing. The majority of it, just over half of it, I guess, was from my client work. But I think in 2016, if I push hard and do things right, I can reverse that. So the majority of my income will be from Watch Me Code and other entrepreneurial efforts, and not primarily from my client, which is already a huge improvement for 2015. I think in 2014 it was like 25% or maybe a third of my income was from entrepreneurial stuff. So it's good progress, moving in the right direction for sure. Pretty excited about that.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. It's Derek. It's really amazing to see how different you are since you shut down Signal Leaf. Like,
yes,
you know.
So I was talking to my dad about that over Christmas break. I mean, he commented that I seemed to be a lot more relaxed and I wasn't checking my computer constantly and trying to work, because the last time I was there was just after launching Signal Leaf, and I was really pushing hard and trying to do a lot with it, and I was constantly sitting at my computer working. And this time, I was like, literally the only time I opened my computer for the whole 2 weeks that we were there was to let my kids watch videos off of Amazon, or for me to watch videos on a crochet technique that I needed. That was the 3 or 4 times that I opened my computer. Other than that, I was doing something else the whole time.
Nice.
So yeah, it's pretty amazing thinking about how relaxed and how happy I am with my current career path right now, with not having Signal Leaf, not having that stress, not constantly freaking out about whether or not I actually can make it viable, and whether or not somebody is going to eat my lunch with a hugely popular podcast this month and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because like my Amazon S3 bill, it was averaging $400 or $500 with Signal Leaf. I'm averaging about $40 with Watch Me Code.
Yeah. And you're serving up video now. So.
Yeah, and serving up video. It's just,
Wow.
People aren't with Signal Leaf. Every subscriber was downloading every episode of every podcast they are subscribed to. With Watch Me Code, exactly. It's a conscious choice to go to the site and either watch it streaming or download it. And once you download it, you're going to go watch it whenever you want. You're not going to keep hitting. So it's just far less bandwidth usage all around. It's made it a lot cheaper for me to run that way.
Nice. Yeah, you're just so focused. Like,
yeah,
it's like you're able to pick out, like, okay, well, I know what I'm doing next week.
Right.
Oh, by the way, we gotta get you to. I want to run this idea by you, Derek. Uh, I'm gonna start putting some technical content on YouTube.
Okay.
To increase, like, to get more people that are searching for stuff. So I think, so Josh and I were talking about there's a good opportunity, I think, for both of us here, for you to produce something for Simple Programmer, like a how-to kind of tutorial thing that would introduce you and your Watch Me Code stuff to my 13,000 plus subscribers, but
Heck
also
yeah.
give me some content that I could pull in new subscribers with, since people will be searching on. So it's something we got to figure out, some kind of topic and some way to do that if you're interested. But I think
definitely. There's a number of topics that I've considered doing for Watch Me Code recently, but it's not in my schedule. Things like an introduction to Express.js, because I've got all of this great, you already know Express, let me make you the Express master, but I've never recorded an intro to Express, and I could do 3 or 4 5 to 10 minute videos on that and get people from nothing up to the point where they could continue into my Express Master series.
Right, okay. Yeah, that something like that would be cool. We have to figure out some way to, like, couch it to introduce it, like, why is Derek doing videos on the channel? But I think I can start talking about having, like, I mean, we could have, like, a clip or something where I start talking about it ahead of time and about kind of the idea of having these tutorials, or I don't know. We have to figure out something, but.
Yeah, and we can also couch it as, the popularity and rise of JavaScript and how it's important to diversify your skill set, because I think the majority of your technical subscribers are more the Java and .NET crowd. So if we can introduce this as a way for them to get into some Node and some Express and all of that to help further their careers, give them a broader base of experience, I think that would go over pretty well.
Cool. Yeah. Okay, cool. We'll have to talk about that some more, but.
Okay.
But yeah.
So what's up with you guys? I'm done talking.
Yeah. I'll let you go, Josh, if you want.
All right, sure, yeah. So yeah, what's up with me? So the biggest thing this week has been I decided to just throw it out and get my bookkeeping situation figured out once and for all. So I've been through several bookkeepers at this point, and I've never really felt like I had any clue what was going on. And so I finally, it kind of came to a head because I've been setting some goals for myself, like we talked about with Chuck, and one of my goals was to I wanted to set like percentages of saving and giving for this year, and so I realized that to hit all of my goals, all I needed to do was bump up like my paycheck, quote unquote, that I get twice a month by like $800. So I bumped that up, and then I scheduled everything. I set it all up, so it's now I've got automatic transactions going into my my IRA, another investment account that I set up, my wife's IRA, and then a savings account that we're going to beef up our emergency fund. So I'm actually going to be saving about 25% of my income at this point, which is pretty sweet. And then I wanted to give 10% also, so I bumped up the amount of money we set aside. I like the way I do it. I have it set up for the giving because I set it aside every month, and then we do it at the end of the year. So we give some to church like every couple weeks, but then I have like this big lump sum, and it's nice because it's like kind of like it's there in case I really needed it. And then in December we'd just go in and just clean the account out. So I got all that stuff set up, and then I was like, okay, well now I know what I need. I know what my paychecks are going to be. Now I need to know that I'm going to be able to hit those, and I need to have a better idea of how much money I'm making and how much I'm spending. and I couldn't tell you really how much I've spent on pretty much anything. And I went in and really started digging into QuickBooks Online, and oh my gosh, such a mess. Oh my goodness, it was a total mess. And yeah, I've spent like maybe at this point maybe like 10 hours this week just going through QuickBooks and like recategorizing. I just uncategorized like 1,200 transactions.
Wow.
Like, basically all of my history for the last 2.5 years, I just uncategorized all of it, and then I'm just going through and recategorizing all of it the way that it really should be.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's pretty, like, I have so many little random transactions that it's basically impossible for a bookkeeper to make sense of it. I'd have to spend more time explaining every transaction than it would take me to just go in once a week and process like the 10 or 20 things for that week. So I'm just going to be doing the transactions myself, categorizing everything. The other thing I figured out how to do finally, I begged like 2 bookkeepers to figure this out, and they couldn't. I wanted to know how much every month I was spending that was like a commitment, some kind of subscription or something like non-discretionary. So it's one thing to spend $3,000 on a conference when because you could just not spend that money. You know, like if I have some cash flow issues, I don't have to spend that money. But if I've got, I need to know, okay, $500 a month for drip. I need to know what all of those expenses are. Nobody could do it. So I finally figured out there's a way in QuickBooks where you can just set up different classifications for transactions, and then so I just have a recurring and non-recurring, and now I can do like a P&L report, and I can do it for recurring expenses only, and I can see exactly what I've spent every month going back for like 2 years, and I'm just like in heaven. So excited about that. So I also did an experiment where I tried. QuickBooks has a new way to import PayPal transactions that brings in your PayPal fees, because right now the fees just kind of evaporate the way I have it set up. But it was a disaster. It imported, so it actually probably, John, would have worked well for what we were doing for Simple Programmer. It's more designed for when you've got a ton of small sales coming in. But it basically assigns every transaction to like uncategorized expense if it's an expense. So it was useless. It would have been a lot of work to go in every month and fix everything. So I had to go through and delete all the duplicate transactions and then recategorize all the stuff that had come in from my PayPal account before. But so
I think what I do in your case, and probably what we'll end up doing too, is just go to the monthly report for PayPal, and then they have a transactions.
Yeah.
I think they have transaction fees like a total. Yeah. And then you just add that one thing.
Yeah. I'm kind of working on the division of labor with my bookkeeper, so I think I'm going to keep her to help me with a couple things. One of them is little things like that, like she's going to do the reconciliations every month, and then do the PayPal, do the PayPal fees, do the Stripe fees, and there's like a couple other things. Like she can help me with 1099s, so stuff like that. And then pretty much I'm just going to do the day-to-day stuff. I'm just going to handle that myself, and I think it will be so much easier. And it was very painful to go through and do all that, but I understand QuickBooks better. I feel like I still don't completely understand it, but I have a better sense of how things are laid out and where stuff goes, what all the different moving pieces are. So that's been, but yeah, just being able to print that P&L report and see like quarter by quarter and month by month, and oh my goodness, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I bet it is. I need something like that. I really need to get on QuickBooks.
Yeah, it's worth it. Well, John won't say that, but some kind of accounting software is definitely worth the time investment. And I would highly encourage you to do it all yourself for a while before you try to get anybody. because yeah, that was my big mistake. I spent like my kids have been waking me up really early lately. So last couple mornings I've just gone in and like spent a bunch of time. I feel like I've spent like 4 hours in the morning before I even normally even start work, and I'm all bleary-eyed. But yeah, so yesterday I was just like, oh gosh, I've been doing this for a couple of hours now, and I'm fried. And I had to write my email, and I was like, what am I going to write about? And I was like, I know, bookkeeping. So I did my email about this mistake that I made, where I've spent. So the hook on the email was that I'd spent $1,423 on bookkeeping and accounting, and until today I couldn't have told you that. Because I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like so. Yeah, so.
It's almost impossible to like hire someone to do something unless you've done it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm finding, which
well,
just like.
And the other problem for me was that I didn't have any history of transactions to know what everything was going to be. Now I have like a pretty good set of categories. I know like the types of services I offer. I've got coaching, I've got copy critiques, I've got copywriting. I kind of know all the services. I know the different major affiliate income sources. So I can actually do that, and it's meaningful. And before I was just kind of like making it up.
Right.
And now I have a better idea of the numbers that I actually need to know. So.
And are you doing a cash basis or?
Yeah, cash basis.
Okay.
Yeah, because for me that makes sense. I don't think it's worth going to the extra hassle of doing the accrual approach.
Yeah, definitely not for me.
Yeah. Because really what I care about is like my bank balance, and because really the only thing I care about is I've got 2 scheduled withdrawals from that bank account, and I want to make sure that I meet those every month, and I'm not gonna run into trouble.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, so that's been really good this week. I'm excited. I did the copy hour. I was so they changed copy hours, the copywriting course that I've been promoting on my list, and they changed up their model this year. Where he's doing 4 classes instead of having it be like an evergreen thing. He's gone to a live model where you go through as a group to try to get the interaction. More interaction between people. So anyway, so that gave me some nice scarcity. I had a timeline, a deadline leading up to the first of the year when he was going to kick it off. So I did a bunch of emails. I ended up winning. He did like an award for like a prize for the most number of referrals, and so I won that. It was kind of cool. Yeah. I sent 3 emails. Yes, I sent 3 emails. One on Friday, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. And I got sales from all of them. So
nice.
I won it's a Pavlok. Have you guys heard about this?
Oh yes.
It's basically a shock collar to try to help you quit bad habits. So it's like whenever you do the bad habit, you're supposed to go in to the app and like shock yourself. It's I don't know. It's interesting. So
and there's some things you can automate. So
it's gonna be. I can imagine like how that could just go so wrong.
Yes.
Every time I've ever tried any kind of, like my freaking phone turns itself on. I'll be just talking here and like Siri thinks that I said, "Hey Siri," and I
when you just
hey
said
Siri,
it, so
hey
good
Siri,
luck.
shock me. So we'll see. I'm not sure if how I'm gonna like that or not, but so what else? I think the main other thing is we're still doing our price test with the simple programmer stuff. And Derek, you weren't here I don't think last week, but we bumped the price from 97 to 147, and it is neck and neck.
Nice.
So it seems like so far it's the buy button clicks are down about 20%.
Mm-hmm.
And the sales seem to be hovering between 10 to 20%. So as long as we don't cut the sales by 30%, with the higher price, it'll be profitable. So, kind of thinking that we'll be able to bump it.
Yeah, and the refund rate, as long as that doesn't.
Yeah, as long as the refund rate doesn't go up either. And if that works, we're probably going to try 197.
Nice.
So, yeah, I kind of feel like 197 might drop it down to that 30% range, but it would still be profitable.
Yeah, I'd like to.
So,
I think it might be interesting to test it, like to do like a 197 one payment, and then a 3 payment of what would it be, like $70.
Yeah.
Yeah, of 67, 310, or no.
I think I'd probably try to get it to. What about 4 payments of like 49 or something like that?
Oh yeah, maybe that'd be better.
I think that, like, I mean, we'd have to test it, but I think between 49 and or 47 or 49 and 99 or 97, kind of like a dead zone.
Yeah, we could test that, but that might help as well. But yeah, but sales have been pretty good on that.
Yeah, we're pretty much selling one to 2 a day, and then we'll have occasional days where it'll be like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Like some tweet will hit in Edgar and.
Right.
The other interesting thing is I'm doing a test. So I have I've had this really lame squeeze page on my website for a while for my email marketing cheat sheet, and it was literally just the headline was "Get the email marketing cheat sheet," and I had like name, email button, and then and that was it was converting okay actually, like depending on the traffic source, sometimes it would convert like 15 to 20%. So now I'm doing a test where I'm testing it against a Thrive landing page with the lead pages style button where you have to click like a download button and then the opt-in form pops up. And because everybody keeps saying, oh, that increases your conversion rate because it gets them involved, like they take a step and then they're committed. And I've honestly never really bought that. And actually, on the very first time I heard about it was on Pat Flynn's blog post, and he was talking about it, and he was saying that it increases conversion rate, but the way he worded it made me think that he was measuring conversions from people who viewed, like once you view the pop-up, he was seeing more people. Once they viewed the pop-up, he was seeing a higher rate actually complete it versus just having the form embedded. But like, not everybody's clicking on the pop-up, so his overall conversion rate was probably lower. And I'm seeing a very similar pattern with mine. Like, people click on the button like crazy, and then they don't complete the form.
Exactly.
So it's losing by 16% right now. So 60% of people that hit the page click the button, but then only 39% of those people actually fill out the form. And so the conversion rate's actually almost 7 or 8 points lower than just the bare opt-in form. And that's what that page actually has some copy on it too. Like overall it's a much better landing page. So I don't know. I think I might test it against I might take the form that I have, or the page that I have now with the download button, clone that, and test that against an exact replica with the embedded form and see which one wins. But that's pretty much it for me. It's been a long week. Kids waking up every night at like 3 o'clock in the morning and screaming.
Yeah, I've had a bunch of that happening too. And then yesterday we took my son in for dental surgery. He had to get several teeth removed, an extra tooth removed, a couple of caps and things. And so he was home for the morning. We took him in there, and he's screaming the whole time that we're waiting, basically, because he doesn't want to be there. And then when he gets done with the thing, he's coming off of anesthesia and everything else, and is vomiting like crazy. And his mouth, his gums hurt, and they've been bleeding. And he's been swallowing all this blood, so he's vomiting blood, basically. Nasty, old, disgusting, vomity blood. So it was not a fun day. It was pretty awful. I think he threw up like 8 times yesterday in total. He's doing a little better this morning. He's in school, which is good, but he still wasn't feeling very well. His gums hurt really bad, and so he wasn't real happy about that. But oh yeah, so fun times.
Let's see. So I got here to San Diego, so I'm in San Diego now. I just got here, what, like 2 days ago, I think, or 3 days ago.
What are you doing there?
What's that?
What are you doing there?
Oh, just visiting. Just we're checking out the area to see. We're thinking about moving, so
Okay.
wanted to take a couple of months. So we'll be here for the next 2 months, and then I've got a place that downtown here in San Diego, and then we'll see what happens. But so far it's been we actually got here for the rain for floods, so
Right.
that was fun. But I think it's clearing up now. But let's see. So what have I been? So the my video editor guy Rodrigo turned out to be really good. Uh, as Josh can probably attest for.
Yeah, he's been killing it.
Yeah. So we've been seeing pretty good growth in YouTube. This seems like the strategy is working. We're at about like 13.6K subscribers now, which has been going up about, I think the rate increased like in the last 28 days, there's 2,000 new subscribers. So, you know, that's been going good. I've been pumping out videos. I've got a system now. So now that I've got the editor in place, I'm getting like, on average, like 2 videos a day. So that's pretty cool. So we'll see how that works out. The sales for for the 10 steps that was like Josh was talking about, pretty amazing. Like in the last month, I think we did like over $3,000 in sales in December without any advertising or any kind of email like force
Yeah.
or anything like that. Just people just going to the page. So that's pretty cool. So we're hoping that how to market yourself when Josh gets the sales page rewritten for that we get similar result. So
Yeah.
so yeah, so the big thing I'm looking at now, again, I think my big task really is to get the bookkeeper figured out for I've been doing the accounting for Simple Programmer or the bookkeeping with QuickBooks, and that's just not been working out. QuickBooks is
Yeah.
Intuit is one of the sleaziest companies that is like around today. I can't believe that they're still in business, like that they're operating against competitors like Stripe and so many other
Don't
accounting
compete with
software.
Stripe.
What's that?
Don't compete with Stripe.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm saying they're competing with companies like Stripe, where and quick and they're still operating in like the 90s, so with pretty sleazy practices. So I've just had multiple run-ins with them now. I'm at this point where I'm like, I don't even want to deal with them anymore. So I'm gonna try and do the same thing I did, like similar to hiring Rodrigo to do the video editing, and just start interviewing a lot of bookkeepers now that I know like I've done the bookkeeping myself for Simple Programmer,
Right.
and I know exactly what I'm looking for and I understand it. I think it'll be easy to hire someone. I even created a video showing what I was doing in QuickBooks, so I can just send that to
Nice.
potential bookkeepers. So we'll see what happens. But I think that's probably my main agenda at this point is I'm focusing on that and then producing the videos. And then I had my Entrepreneur on Fire episode came out, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
definitely cool. I haven't listened to it yet, but it's on my list of things to do.
yeah, and that'll be a nice link back to the Simple Programmer site. So
Definitely.
and then I had an interview on Jesse Liberty's Yet Another Podcast, which I thought turned out really well. And then also at Software Engineering Radio, my interview finally came out. So that one should attract a pretty good audience because that's like it's the IEEE podcast essentially.
Nice.
So yeah. So yeah, I'm trying to think what else I've been working on. It's been over the holidays. I haven't done much. I had been my father-in-law finally got me to like he always tries to get me to watch television shows. So he got me hooked on Walking Dead, so I'm actually watching Walking Dead now.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, trying to think what else was going on. Yeah, I guess it's really just the planning out. Like, I can't do as much while I'm traveling, but yeah, but hopefully with this year with Josh joining up Simple Programmer, we'll be able to get it. There's a lot of things we have, I think, on our list of things.
Yeah.
So one challenge is getting the content. Like I think Josh and I were talking about the other day, is trying to get. We need to get more technical content because that's what people search for. So, and that's what I was talking about with you, Derek, is
Right.
trying to figure out a way to get like more tutorials and how-to videos, like the things that people search for. And then when they search for that and they find that, then they'll also find the rest of the Simple Programmer stuff, which which then they'll become into the Simple Programmer world. So I've been getting a lot of requests for, strangely enough, a couple of things. One of them is, I talked about this before, but the whole entrepreneurial, like how to build a business thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking definitely that the course that I'm going to do this year is going to be like that, the how to build a business type of course, and I think that'll do well.
Nice.
There's a lot of people that are asking that same question. So, and then
Yeah, that's going to be our top level probably.
Yeah, I think we should be able to sell that course for at least $1,000, maybe more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And then and then the other interesting thing I thought was interesting with YouTube was I did a couple of videos like just telling my story of like how I got started, not I'm an entrepreneur, just from my career, like the first job I got fired from and all that, and and I did a part 2. And then the end of the part 2, because I did part 1, and because people were asking what was your first job, and then they said, well, what happened after that? So I did a part 2, and I started giving my history about what happened after that. And so at the end of the video, I was like, if you want to hear more, let me know. And I got like 50 replies.
Holy cow! To the video?
So,
like.
Yeah.
Nice.
So apparently, telling the story. Which I know, like obviously, right? Like telling stories is
of course
the best thing to do, right? So I need to definitely do more of that. But I was surprised just by that. And then there's also a bunch of people, like I've been experimenting with a few different things, but one of the other extremely popular topics, like I did a video on blogging, and I asked about, do you want an advanced blogging course? And there was a ton of replies to that too. So a lot of people want that.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, John, I'm looking for. We'll have to schedule time pretty soon to talk, and I'm gonna need to fill in a bunch of gaps on your biography.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah. I mean, obviously, that's gonna be a huge part of doing this sales page. So, I've started one of the important things I've started doing is constructing timelines for any client that I have where their life story is important. I've just started like piecing together, like with Perry, I've done this where, like, stupid things like when he graduated from college, so I can get the chronology right, and I don't have to like, dig around through, hundreds of pages of transcripts of stuff to figure it out. Right. But I'll need to get that. So for you, I have like basically kind of up through your first job, because that was what we talked about for the 10 steps course.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah, we can fill in the gaps there.
Yeah, that'll be cool. And I think what we're going to discover along the way too is that you're going to have like these stories that we'll pull out these interesting stories, and then you'll kind of, because I think one thing that I've always wanted to see more of from you is that, like, I've been reading your stuff for a long time, and I actually don't have a good sense for your whole story.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? Yep. Like, you'll pull in little bits of it here and there, but just having like kind of the narrative of your whole, like, kind of your whole career will be really useful.
Yeah, it's interesting too, like because there's this whole thing where like you don't people really aren't interested in your story. Like
Mhm.
when you're starting building a business, like you definitely don't do that, right? Because that no one
Yeah,
cares. But once you start to have like an audience and subscribers,
Hmm.
then people want to know. Like you have to there's a certain
yeah,
level of that. I think that so I think it's at that point now, obviously from that video that
yeah.
that makes sense, and that's going to be appealing to people as opposed to why are you telling me this?
Right.
But,
What's always been cool to me too is how like you have to you can retell your own story so many different ways depending on the audience you're talking to. Because like I have like a version of my story for programmers where
right,
like I'm teaching myself to code on the bus, and and then I've got there's another version that I use now where when I'm talking to people about writing that almost acts like I almost act like the whole programming thing never happened because I started
right,
off, I wanted to be a journalist, and then I went into marketing actually, and I did that and then I had this problem where nobody around here in Pittsburgh was hiring marketing departments in 2008, and that was kind of when I went into programming, and then I'm kind of coming back around full circle to where I
right.
started, so it's kind of it'll be fun to flesh that out for you. I'm looking forward to doing that.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that, seeing what you can do with getting that sales page up. And like I said, I think we've got a lot of projects to do with simple programmers. So it'll be good. It'll be an exciting year. I think we'll be able to definitely grow quite a bit. So,
Yeah.
but I'm trying to think what else there was. So, oh yeah, so I didn't mention this, but I'll just for Derek's benefit, but I've been giving more thought also to doing the How to Overcome Your Fears course.
Oh yeah.
I think later in the year. I mean, first we wanted to do the entrepreneurial course, but
Hmm.
I've been looking into skydiving, so like tandem skydiving. So that'll
Nice.
definitely be an element of the course. I think is my plan would be to film. Are you up for that, Josh? You gonna go skydiving?
I'm not going skydiving. No, absolutely not. I told my wife about that, and she was like, "Oh no."
Yeah, but will be funny. We'll see though. I think that's what my plan is to doing the courses. I'd like to like go and do a bunch of crazy stuff and film it and film myself getting over the fear of doing the thing. So that'd be pretty fun.
It'd be like Jackass, the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
John will be wrestling gators and jumping out of planes. And
Yeah, but yeah. So last like about a week ago, I started researching skydiving, and it's actually not as apparently it's not as uh, difficult or as terrifying as what you might think it would be. So at least that's what a lot of people say.
I, to me, the way it seems like is that my impression is that it would be really tough to jump out of the plane. And then once you're out of it, you probably have like a few seconds of terror because you
Yeah.
feel the falling sensation. And then after that, it's just like, oh, okay.
So I think the things about it. Well, I mean, obviously, like and that's the whole point of the course would be that you're going to have fear. Like you're not going to overcome the fear, but like one of the keys to overcoming a fear, first of all, like one of the first steps is to understand the realistic safety risk of a thing or the
Hmm.
probability. And so that's like if you want someone to overcome the fear of flying an airplane, they have to understand. You can give them the odds, and they have to really internalize the odds to understand. Or same thing with a roller coaster. It's like, okay, in terms that they can understand. Or one good strategy is just to like stand by like an airport, and then like where the planes are coming in, and just count how many are coming in every day. Like just stand there for like an hour and watch how many, like at a busy airport. And like, wow, look at all those planes. None of them are having problems. Right? What's the odds that you're going to be on one that's going to have a problem, right? And this is happening all over the world at thousands of airports every day. Like then someone gets, oh, okay, because you can tell someone it's a 1 in a million chance and they don't get it, but if they're like looking at it, or same thing with roller coaster, like watch the roller coaster for an hour and no problems, and think about how many are in operation all over the. So the same thing with skydiving is just to would be to start there, but I think also like, the thing that two things happen with it. One is like when you look outside of the plane. Uh, I mean, you get this experience when you look out the window of a plane, right? So if you were to climb up a really tall building and look over the balcony, you like if you would feel a little bit of the fear of height, right?
Right.
But if you look out the window of a plane that's at like 10,000 feet, you're like you don't have that same effect. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why is because your brain cannot process height at that level. Like it doesn't make sense to you. Like it just like people look like ants, cars look like ants. It doesn't. So I think that you're actually jumping out will not seem as terrifying as it would be. Like bungee jumping would be much more terrifying to jump on because you actually can feel the height and understand it. And then the other thing that I thought was interesting in the researching was that when you're skydiving, well, first of all, you're going tandem, right? So you have to pretty much have to. So you've got someone strapped to you, and they're gonna pretty much you're not gonna have a choice, right? Like you're gonna be going out of the plane. Technically, you're supposed to jump first, but I'm pretty sure they're pushing you out. So. And then second of all, like you're flying in a plane going 100 miles an hour. Terminal velocity is 120 miles an hour. So apparently when you jump, you only accelerate 20 miles an hour.
But that's only if you get up to terminal velocity. The way that you tend to jump is to have your arms out and legs out so you don't hit terminal velocity right away. You're basically just stepping out of the plane at about the same speed as you're going to be falling initially.
Exactly. But you do eventually hit terminal velocity, but it's a very slow acceleration of 20 miles an hour or more.
Yeah.
So apparently, like the sensation of like a drop on a roller coaster is way more intense than of jumping out of the plane, which is
interesting.
Like I would assume that would be much more. So
it'd be the equivalent of, walking off the end of a staircase instead of a roller coaster. Like, oh, here's a ledge next to the staircase. I'm just going to walk over the ledge instead of taking the stairs.
Yep. So yeah, it's interesting. Like, but part of it is like I think also doing the research.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm planning on doing it. It'll be
nice. That's something that I wanted to do forever, and now that I'm married and I'm fat, I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Hey, you can go with me. I need to film
film buddy.
You're going to have this like epic monologue of you falling down the sky trying to talk to the camera, and it's going to come out as just the whole time.
It'd be mostly the before and afters, I think. Yeah. But apparently the worst part, actually, which was something I didn't consider, is going up, because you're flying in some little tiny rickety plane, like most parts. So you pretty much want to get out of that plane.
Why would you want to jump out of a perfectly good airplane? I'm not in a perfectly good airplane.
Exactly. So I think that'll be fun, but that's later on. That's not the high priority thing, but I think it'd be an interesting one to do.
Huh. That's interesting. Yeah, I really liked what you were saying about going to the airport and watching because the problem is that like the statistics are they lodge in your head, but they stop there and they don't ever get down into the emotional lizard brain level. And by making it more visual and forcing yourself to sit there and watch them for a while, you're kind of like you're getting down to that emotional side of yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
That relates to the real world. It's interesting.
Yeah, there's a few different I've been developing this on my own as I've overcome quite a few fears, so I've been building this system up, and like step one is definitely understanding the statistics, like the actual, like, but having a real understanding of it, not just someone telling you. Because so many times people are like, oh, it's the safest form of travel, and I'm like, okay, I didn't internalize it in my head until I started to like think about it in terms of, oh, look at, like, the other thing you can do is you can pull up a flight radar map that shows all the flights in the world that are flying, and you look at that and you're like, wow, that's a lot of flights that are flying. And like, how many of those will have problems today? 0. Like, or, you know, will crash today, or there'll be an injury. 0. How many yesterday? 0. How many tomorrow? You know, it's like, and then you're like, okay, so now you get a real good idea of the odds. And then, like, the next step is to basically, like, not try and overcome the fear, but to feel the fear, like, just to actually allow yourself to feel all the terror that you have, not try to block it out. And then the third one is really to do a context change. Like, how can you change the context where it makes it's a different situation, where you're not trying to overcome your fear, you're trying to accomplish a thing, you're trying to, you know, you have some higher purpose, or some way you can switch the context so that it makes sense.
I think after that, maybe we could do a course about how to develop fears, because my middle child needs this, Jonah. he might be like an NHL goalie or something like that, because
Crash test dummy.
Little dude is, oh my goodness, yeah. The other day he hurt himself because he was flipping backwards off the couch, like we have a love seat that is not backed up against the wall, and he like flopped backwards over the back of it and landed on his head. I'm like, okay, that's not smart. But yeah, he cried, and then he was like wanting to do it again. It's like, no.
Yeah.
And his brother Levi, the oldest, is he's about 15 pounds heavier probably than Jonah. Jonah's pretty, like, he's on the smaller side, and Levi's on the bigger side, and Jonah will just walk up to Levi and just, like, you know, punch him or like shove him or something, and then he gets, like, you know, flattened, but he doesn't care. Yeah.
That's funny. Oh, you know what? I just realized I never gave an update on the whole glasses thing, the eye improvement. It didn't work.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Did not work.
So how much did that fail?
At least nothing that I could tell. I'm not 100% convinced that it can't work, but I feel like the amount of commitment that you would have to put into it would be like extremely high.
John, there are levels of discipline and commitment, and you are somewhere maybe right below Navy SEAL on that scale.
I think that would have to be Navy SEAL or above.
Yeah.
Because the only true success stories that I saw of it when I went through and looked at the literature were people, Air Force pilots, that they would lose their ability to fly. So if you had that level of motivation, I bet you'd be practicing it, like, you know, 8 hours a day, like, so, and that's probably what it requires. But yeah, so that experiment is done. At least for now. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I had. I don't think so. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Anyone else got anything else? Are we actually going to wrap up early today?
Yeah,
I think so.
Chuck here. I don't have a ton else to say. I'm trying to move things forward. I still need to work on my 2016 goals and plans. I kind of have an idea of where I want to go, how I want to get started with it in terms of writing things down. I'm going to start by categorizing all of my income, which I started already. I shared some of those categories earlier, but I'm gonna look at those categories, look at my, you know, recurring revenue for Watch Me Code versus sales, and look at my, you know, client income and all that stuff, and plant some goals in terms of what my income is going to be, what I want my income to be based on those, and then work backwards in terms of number of bundle sales and number of subscribers and reducing churn and all that kind of stuff. I also have a goal this year of doing another big bundle like I did with RabbitMQ last year. Only this time it's going to be my Express.js stuff, because I've got a crap ton of Express.js stuff that you cannot find anywhere. You go looking for Express architecture and how to grow your application and scale and all this stuff, and you'll find hodgepodge little articles that talk about one or two things here and there, but nobody puts it all together the way that I do. So I'm going to take this complete series of Express things that I have and go find a dozen people to do interviews with again, and probably compile some ebooks from some of the blog posts and articles that I've written on Express and put it together the way I did RabbitMQ last year. And I made 14 grand off of that RabbitMQ bundle last year. So I expect with the Express one, I should be able to bring in probably 20 to 25 at least.
Nice, yeah.
So that'll be huge. That'll be good. So that'll be one thing that I know for sure I'm going to do this year. Other than that, I got to sit down and actually plan and think about what my goals are and how I'm going to do it. But before I can do that, though, I have this JS Remote Conf thing that I agreed to next Friday. So I'm still trying to finish up my presentation for that. So I gotta get that done before I can really do anything else.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the goals thing too, and I mean, so far the things that came out that were things I knew I wanted to do were the financial stuff, the bookkeeping, and the
Right.
automating of everything. I fired my financial advisor too, so I'm doing that all myself now, and pretty happy about it. But yeah, I've basically I figured out that I wanted to do that stuff, and then I just kind of peeled off and stopped planning and just actually did it.
Right.
So I'll have to go back and try to. This whole goal setting thing for me is just really tough because I never feel like I actually get my hands around it. It's the same thing with GTD. It's like the farther I dig, I feel like I could literally spend, an hour a day for 90 days just planning my next 90 days. It's like the more I dig into it, the more, I don't know. It just seems bottomless to me.
I feel the exact same way, and that's why I'm sticking with higher level stuff. I don't want to get down to planning 90 days or 6 months or whatever. I'm going to set out my financial goals, and I'm going to have that pasted somewhere in front of me all the time, so I can track myself toward those goals and just make sure every decision that I make is going to move me toward those financial goals.
I sat down, and my problem is that I just have so many different opportunities in front of me right now that I don't know, and I don't know how many of them I'm going to actually be able to get done, and I don't know of the ones that I do have what the results are actually going to be. Like I wrote up like a list of all of the things that I thought realistically I have a pretty good shot of like getting done this year as far as projects and income, and the range, and then I put like a conservative estimate and a hit it out of the ballpark estimate, and the range between those two was like $100,000. So it's like, how do you even? I'm having like I have kind of like I'd like to make 250 grand this year. That's kind of my target. But it could be anywhere. It could be anywhere between 150 and 250, and I just really don't have a way of. It's almost meaningless for me to set a goal for myself because like John, we're gonna do we're probably gonna do that entrepreneur course. Well, that who knows how that's gonna do. That could be a $200,000 or $300,000 launch.
Right.
And that's pretty realistic.
Yeah.
So it's just I'm having a hard time. To me, that range is so big that it's not really motivating, or really even there's not really even that much of a point.
I don't like the idea of setting financial goals.
Yeah.
Because you cannot affect them directly. Right. I mean, and the other thing that I think that I found effective for goal setting is, I mean, you definitely have to have goals, but you've got like a 5-year goal, right? And you should have that. Well, what I'm saying is you should have a 5-year goal planned out, or goals, and then you should have something more short-term. Maybe I don't even say a 3-year, I say a 1-year goal, and then you have to plan. I think effectively is 90-day, and then what you're going to do that month to achieve 90. I mean, the 90 day is more of a goal. The actual monthly is a plan, right? And that drives your. But the thing is, like, the 5-year goal is not set in stone. It's like based on the wind, based on the current direction I'm going. This is where I see my 5-year goal, but you're not like some people like are afraid to make goals, and they make like or especially long term like 5-year goals because they don't want to commit to that direction. And what I think it is that like you just set this in as a landmark out there because it's like the fog of war. Like you don't know, you can't see 5 years out, but if you like come up with with your current situation, what do you think would be the best 5-year goal or set of goals? You do that, and then every year you revisit those 5-year goals and they change. But you see what I'm saying? Like it's still pointing you in that right direction, but it's not something that you just are like, okay, now there's 4 years left on it, and 3 years and 2 years, because the 5-year goal is always 5 years out there, and it's always changing. Whereas the 1-year goal doesn't, right? The 1-year goal, or maybe it can change a little bit, but for the most part,
I mean, mine have for me where with how fluid things have been for me. I mean, like 6 months ago, I had no idea that I was going to be doing coaching, that I was going to be working with you on Simple Programmer. Like everything has changed for me, in just in the last 3 months. Everything.
And you want that to be open, otherwise you're forcing because you want to be able to take advantage of opportunities. So I think that's the key. And then the other thing that I found is just like the goal, like because I've set and achieved a ton of goals, and a lot of them were things that I absolutely had 100% control over. So, and then, the revenue will follow that. Like when I did, my goal for when I was doing the Pluralsight courses was to get 30 courses done in the year. And so I was able to work backwards from that. That's a concrete thing. I know exactly how much I need to do every week. And so that's an achievable goal because it's, I absolutely can. I can't, now my goal wasn't how much money to make from it because I can't control that.
Right.
And it'd just be a stressful, like anything that you are trying to achieve but you can't directly control just adds unnecessary stress because you have
I see what you're saying.
ability to affect it. So in order to have good goals, I mean, you could have targets of I'd like to make this much money, that's fine, but I think goals have to be things that you have the control over. A goal is not to lose 50 pounds, it's to eat so many calories per week, or I mean, I guess that one you could kind of work backwards from, but essentially the better goal is to say, I'm going to run this many times a week, I'm going to eat on this schedule or this routine, or lift or whatever it is, so that those are things that you could do and check off every single week. And then and even with the financial side, it's like I mean, like for you, Josh, maybe it'd be like, how many coaching clients are you going to get? How many hours worth of coaching?
Well, even that, honestly, that's out of my control too. I mean, it's closer to something that I can control, but it's really, and like, so for me, the two things that I know that I really want is within the next year to 2 years, I want to be to the point where I am making a full-time income from my email list. And just whether that's like, just with affiliate marketing, or I want to have some products of my own that I can sell, more or less passively. So that's like, that's kind of my first goal, my first like concrete target that I really want to hit sometime soon. Because that's kind of like, at that point that's kind of like being semi-retired at that point. I can write an email a day. I want to get to the point where I can write an email every day and like, call it a day if I want to.
And so that has to be broken down like into actual things that you can affect, which would be like, I can write so many emails per week, or I get like what I mean, to me it looks like this. It's like, okay, even like any financial goal or any kind of like unachievable, like directly achievable goal, then you say, well, what would be the best thing I could do that could make it most likely that I would hit this, and then, or the best 3 things, and then you can make actual achievable goals for that. It's like, it's the same thing like if you said for the weight loss, like if my goal is like lose 50 pounds this year, then you can't directly affect that, but it'd be like, well, if I, to go on this diet and I'm doing this exercise program, that's probably the most likely thing that's going to get me there. So I can make actual goals from that. Same thing, I want to get so many subscribers. Well, I think probably the thing that adds the most subscribers would be getting, the blog posts that I'm doing, or the whatever it is, YouTube videos or frequency, or and figuring out what that thing is that you can leverage the most, and then setting a real goal from that, and then pushing on that thing that you can actually accomplish. And you might be wrong. You might find out that what you thought was going to achieve that result didn't, but you can still hit those goals.
Yeah, my plan right now is I want to have my email list up to 10,000 by the end of the year.
Yeah.
I'm at like 1,500 now, so that's a pretty big jump. So I actually went into Excel and calculated what I need to do based on how many. I average like around 12% unsubscribes a month because I'm sending 20 emails a month. So I know that I need to get basically my email list needs to grow 28% compounded every month for me to hit 10,000 by the end of the year.
Right. Yeah.
So basically, I think the only thing that only feasible strategy for me to hit that is going to be actually executing the James Clear strategy, which is writing blog posts and then syndicating them out.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that now. I'm trying to get. I want to try to get to where I'm writing my email and then spending another, Pomodoro or so to writing at least one blog post a week. Utterly failed at that this week, but
here's another one that I think could get you there. Just would be, you need essentially 1,000 subscribers a month, or a little bit less than that. If you can schedule one webinar a month, joint webinar.
Yeah, I need a product though. That's the problem. To do that with anybody in the marketing space, I can't do without a product. And I don't it would take me 3 to 6 months to do a decent product, I think.
Well, just a free informational webinar.
Yeah, they won't. Nobody in the marketing space will do that. They're like, why would I give you my customers?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So, I've approached a couple people about it, and they're like, yeah, if you've got a $100 product to sell and you both split it 50-50, that's pretty much the standard approach in marketing. So yeah, so I've got to get the guest blogging thing going. That's really the only thing I think that's going to let me really accelerate things. I keep looking at Facebook and feeling like there's got to be some way to make that work for me, but it's just so dang expensive. I'm running ads now. I did an ad with my Wikipedia email that I did a couple weeks ago. That was like one of my most popular emails that I've done in a long time, and so I turned that into a Facebook ad, and I'm just running that to see what happens. But yeah, even I've got access to a couple other people's Facebook ad accounts, and the numbers that I'm seeing just don't look. Pretty much everybody is getting numbers that I'm getting, so I have access to one of Perry Marshall's accounts, and the numbers that he's getting wouldn't work for me. So he's got a pro running that. So I think it's going to have to be free traffic, and I think guest blogging is going to be the only way to do it. So I've got to buckle down and make it happen.
Yeah. Well, the big leverage point too, I think, for you is what we can do with Simple Programmer too, I think, because if we can grow that, then it's a guaranteed income for you too,
yes. So. Yeah, I think my 5-year goal would be to have enough money saved. I'd like to have enough money saved and invested that in theory I could retire, kind of like where you are, John.
Yeah.
And I think that's doable. I think with just since I've been investing in my skills, I have some good leverage there to with my time that will let me hit that.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. The goal setting thing is tough. I've been spending some time every morning just sitting there with a notepad and trying to dig in on some of this stuff, and the rabbit hole is very deep.
Yeah, sometimes the other exercise that I think about with doing this is I think about like if someone guaranteed you if you do X, you will get result Y.
Mm-hmm.
Then like you can, I mean, you don't know for sure, but you can pretty much operate under that premise, and then that takes the pressure off because you've got to be able to disconnect the results from action. And like you set a plan
Yeah.
and you execute the plan and you assume that you're going to get Y.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be wrong, but most of the time you're not wrong. Most of the time you exceed Y.
Well, my biggest problem is actually more along the lines of figuring out what I really want.
Yeah.
And like that's actually one of the biggest problems for me. And so I come back to things that are a little more concrete, like income, because it's just more measurable, and I don't know, it's just I don't always I've been at the grindstone so long that it's hard to know. Like I don't really have any hobbies at the moment,
Yeah.
Actually, one of my goals is like to have a hobby that I can't turn into a job.
Or that you won't turn into a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Derek, you're gonna have an Etsy store up, but before the end of the year, I'm
$500 per item.
You might be able to get it for those BB.
Yeah, if you sell them right now.
Disney.
But yeah, it's definitely important to have the goal. So it's hard to come up with them. But the other thing is like they're not like I don't know. So many people. I think it's easy to not put the goals because you're like you've got the pressure of what if these are the wrong goals and what if you're. But you won't get anywhere if you don't have like it's better to have the wrong goals and like accomplish them than to not have the goals.
All right. Any thoughts for the week? I think John just said his thought for the week.
Pretty much, yeah. I guess that'll be it.
I don't really have a thought for the week, so I'll do a pick instead. Go pick up that automatic customer book, The Automatic Customer. It's been really good. I've been really enjoying reading it, and I think it's for anybody that's doing just sales, of whatever it is you're selling, and you're not doing a subscription of any kind. It's definitely something that you want to pick up to learn how a subscription service could very greatly benefit your standard sales business as well. But then for anybody that's wanting to run a subscription-based business, The Automatic Customer by John Warrillow is going to show you how to get it up and running and give you options and tell you what you need to be monitoring and measuring in order to do it.
I'll do an anti-pick / thought.
QuickBooks?
So actually, I'm almost done with the audio version of Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. And I've always kind of like every book I've read of his, I've been kind of like, there's something off about this, but this one really hit the nail on the head. Which essentially the book is all about the idea that behind every like successful person it's not just hard work, there's some element of luck or their environment that caused them like, and they couldn't have been successful without that environment, without someone helping them, some kind of assisted help that so
they could not have
so if you and he uses a bunch of statistics to show how that's true, how like they're in the right place at the right time, and how they had a supporting family or someone helped them along the way, and how people who don't have these advantages end up not having that success. And it's funny because you could like all that he says statistically is correct, but I guess my thought would be you can choose whichever reality you want. You can be a statistic if you want, and statistically you could say, well, it's not my fault because whatever, or you can defy the statistics, because the problem with this book is that essentially he's giving he's it's funny because it's called Outliers, and he's basically telling you that you can't be an outlier unless your environment makes you an outlier. Whereas my entire philosophy in life and my thought for the week would be that the exact opposite of that, which is that you can choose to overcome any circumstance or any disability, any disadvantage that you have, but it's your choice. Only if you believe that view of the world. If you believe the other one, then then he's right, and you might as well just assign your fate to whatever your circumstances are.
I don't think this is a dichotomy of one versus the other. I think both of those perspectives are correct.
They can't be, because
yes, they can.
Either
because it entirely depends on who you are, like what color of skin you are, what gender you are. It depends on those things, but it also depends on your attitude and how much you want to work to get out of that situation. I mean, well, if you're born without legs, good luck winning the swimming competition.
Well, that's funny because there's a guy that was born without hands or feet, and he's what's his name? I can't remember his name now, but I just read about him, and he ran 25,000 miles. He's one of the top marathon runners.
Your perspective is not wrong, and his perspective is not wrong. That's what I'm trying to say. Those two things are not in direct conflict with each other. They are perspectives of the same coin.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying, is you can choose which one you want. And
you can have both. It's not that you're choosing which side that you want. The reality is you have to live with both of those.
Well,
and how much of his perspective versus how much of your perspective affects you is different for every person. Some people will have that opportunity handed to them. Some people will have to work for it. Some people will work for it, and it will never be handed to them.
Well, I guess I disagree with the third one. The other two I agree with.
You talk to any minority person out there, and they'll tell you all about that third perspective.
That's just an excuse. That's the lamest excuse that people ever use.
No, it's not.
It is. It's the
but it's the reality of our society.
It is not.
It's in our culture. You're a white guy. You have no perspective on that.
Well, most people don't think that I am.
That's stupid.
Well, yeah, I have 100% perspective on it because it's not true.
Go find your group of minority friends and ask them about it.
I know people that have been successful and people who haven't been.
Of course, you have the one black friend that is successful, and that makes everything okay for everyone else. But go talk to a very large group of minorities about this sometime. Listen to their experience and go into the conversation without the perception of denying their experience.
It's the lamest excuse that anyone ever
comes
up with.
It's not an excuse.
It is. It's a disempowering belief that makes you exactly what you choose, what you think that you are.
No, that is the reaction. You can choose to have that reaction, but facing the reality of the situation that we live within is not the same as reacting to it. Your reaction could be, I'm going to give up. Or your reaction could be, I'm going to fight against it.
I've heard story. I think that I don't think that what you're saying is completely wrong. I think that there is discrimination, but I also think that when you have 80% of the discrimination out there is perceived discrimination, and I've had people tell me stories that were exactly like almost word for word things that had happened to me, and I'm like, for me, the only difference is I don't go around perceiving everything as discrimination. And when you have those glasses on, every time somebody looks at you or says something to you that you don't like, you interpret it as discrimination. Versus me, it's just, okay, he's got a problem.
Right. And to some degrees, I guess what I would say is that a lot of the things you can interpret how you want. Some of
Yeah.
the things that some people would say are a disadvantage are actually an advantage,
Hmm.
because you can use that disadvantage to be. In fact, I mean, I have multiple people that I've coached where I've said, I'm not going to say it here, but essentially giving them advice of using their disadvantage exactly as an advantage, which you can figure out ways to do that, of course. Like,
Right.
so.
So this is where we come down to the part where we agree, though. It's not facing the reality and recognizing the discrimination in our society is not the problem. How you react to it is the problem. You can choose to react very poorly, but recognizing the truth
Well,
of the reality that we live
I
within
think
is
part
not
of
the
it.
same as reacting to it.
Well, I think part of it though is like discrimination is in the eye of the beholder. I mean, if somebody's, if you don't get a job, if you're a minority and you don't get a job, then what do you assume that that's because of discrimination or because that you weren't qualified?
You have to look at the individual situation. You can't make blanket statements about that. But what we can do is look at all of the research that has been done in the last few years that show the exact same resume sent to the exact same position will have a higher likelihood of being accepted for an interview if the person's name is male and white.
I think that my dad. So I grew up very, very disadvantaged. I mean, we.
We can talk individual stories, though, and every individual person will have some disadvantage in their life.
My dad
people.
applied for a job with the government basically. He lost out to less qualified candidates who were minorities, who were female minorities.
And everybody will tell you that even the minorities will tell you that affirmative action is bullshit, because all it does is give people jobs because of their skin color and not because they were qualified. The real solution is to take skin color and gender out of the equation. But our society is set up so that we have preferences. Whether or not you want to recognize those preferences do exist in our society.
Because they generally hold true. Because they generally hold true.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do. And that's what people have to face, is that what it comes down to is this.
That perception, that attitude is exactly the kind of problem that we have to fight against.
No, they generally hold true. Stereotypes are true, because
no, they're not.
They are. That's what it doesn't. It's not an absolute. It's a snap judgment.
Yes, and those snap judgments are more often than not wrong.
No, they're more often than not right. We're genetically programmed to make snap judgments.
Yes, we are, but that doesn't mean those snap judgments are correct.
There's another Malcolm Gladwell book called Blink about this.
Yeah.
And actually, the whole point of that book is that our snap judgments, more often than not, are right.
It comes down to this. This is where it comes down to is there are going to be people that are going to say whatever excuse that they want.
Yes.
And there are people that are going to say, I don't care what advantage you give me, what circumstance you put me in, I'm going to come out on top no matter what. And those people will always come out on top no matter what. And anyone can be that kind of person if they choose.
Right.
And so anything that you do to tell someone that they can't be that kind of person, or that circumstances can some way prevent them from being that kind of person, prevents them from being that kind of person, or can.
Mm-hmm.
So the only message that makes sense to me, regardless of reality, and I agree with you to some degree, Derek. I'm to some degree I'm playing the devil's advocate, or
Devil's got enough lawyers already.
I'm being an extremist, but my reality that I'm going to choose to live in, that I'm going to tell every single person that I meet and that I influence, is that I don't care what the obstacle is. I don't care what the disadvantage you started with. I don't care if you have to work harder than everyone else. It doesn't matter. You choose to be the person that overcomes all obstacles, that nothing can stop you, and nothing will.
And I 100% agree with that.
I live here in Western Pennsylvania. It's a really interesting area because it's predominantly white, but everybody has that victim mentality that they can't get ahead because someone's got their boot on their neck, and it is incredibly frustrating. I mean,
I've have people in my family who, like basically have just consigned themselves to a life of, very little consequence because
Right.
they just don't. They just think that the world's out to get them, and everything, everything is proof that, the little guy can't get ahead, and it's the same attitude, I guess. For me, it's actually, I don't have a ton of contact with minorities here because Western Pennsylvania is pretty white, but I just see I hear the same crap from all the white people that I hang out with.
Yep.
And and it's like, dude, like, we were eligible for food stamps when I was growing up, and my dad did everything to make sure that we had food. I mean, he delivered pizzas.
Yep.
He got extra jobs. I mean, it was, I don't know. There's no excuse for it. I don't care what color you are.
All right. On that note, I guess you've got to.
Yeah, my thought is, so this week actually, some little switch flipped in my head this week, and writing got a lot easier and more fun. I've been doing the daily emails thing for about 4 or 5 months now, and so I've been writing every day, and just kind of slowly kind of ramping up the amount of writing that I'm doing, and it's starting to snowball, and my skills are starting to pick up, and I'm just having more fun. My writing's coming out better. Like the first draft is better, so I think that applies to a lot of things when you're just being consistent over time, and you hit these little tipping points where things, your skills jump up a level.
Nice.
And so I guess my thought for the week will be a play off of that previous conversation. There's a statement that I made earlier today on Twitter. I don't know where it came from. I don't remember what I was thinking about, but I'll repeat it. If you can't question your own beliefs, you'll never know if they are true. You will only believe that they are. So I would challenge everybody that's listening to this, especially in regards to that previous conversation, question those beliefs. Do the research, talk to people, listen and learn, and decide whether or not your beliefs are true or if you simply believe them.
All right. Same time next week?
Yeah, Chuck and I will be out next week.
Yeah, you guys will be.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I might be here. I might not. I gotta figure out what time I'm actually scheduled to be on the JS Remote Conf, and if it's late enough in the afternoon, I'll show up. But I might be panicking too much to be on here. I'd probably be practicing my talk instead.
Okay. All right. It will be the 100th episode. So.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Oh, will it?
Wow. Maybe I will show up at least for the beginning.
All right. All right. I'll see you guys next week.
Okay. See you guys.
All right. See ya.